There's a Good afternoon. My name's Alex Spiro, and I'm counsel to Mayor Adams. This morning, we filed a motion to dismiss the bribery allegations in this indictment, and I'm going to walk you through that this morning and some other matters. The alleged conduct does not support the bribery charge. And I want to talk at the outset about two fundamental facts that I think are not clear. The first is that in the events in question, Mayor Adams was the Brooklyn Borough President. He was not the mayor. He wasn't even the mayor-elect. And the position of Brooklyn Borough President does not have vast powers. In fact, it has, frankly, very little. To believe these prosecutors, you'd have to believe that the gentleman at the airlines 10 years ago, he was the one who predicted that Eric Adams, the kid from Brownsville who grew up in poverty, who served this city as a police officer, would one day be mayor. That he, as he is upgrading and giving these courtesies to Mr. Adams, that this was his plan. This was the agreement. It defies all logic, it defies common sense, and it isn't true. What is true is that Eric Adams has been known as the Outer Borough Mayor. He has been a voice for countless immigrant communities, Turkey too. And it's sad, frankly, to see him have that weaponized against him here. The second thing that I think needs to be clear at the outset is that gratuities are not federal crimes. Courtesies to politicians are not federal crimes. They do not violate federal law. Congressmen get upgrades. They get corner suites. They get better tables at restaurants. They get free appetizers. They have their iced tea filled up. That's just what happens. That's the truth. And we don't, in the law, leave these public servants to be asking themselves every single time, every single day they have any interaction with the public, is accepting this or taking that appetizer or not waiting in line a violation of federal law that subjects me to large prison sentences? We don't do that. That's why the law does not criminalize that. It would defy logic, it would make no sense, and so it doesn't. So the prosecutors then shift, and they say that, Eric Adams, he hid this secret of the airline upgrade corruption case, that he was hiding it from all of you New Yorkers. That's not true either. When he flew in his face and in his name, and he booked it on his credit card. And the fact that he didn't disclose those upgrades, the truth is, they didn't bother to check this, but the truth is you don't have to disclose upgrades. That's not one of the things you have to disclose. So I'm going to explain now how bribery works in real life. And I'll use an example. A businessman comes to New York City. He goes to the head of an agency. He says there's $1 million in the bag. I'm going to give you this $1 million, and you are going to give me a $20 million contract with the city. And that's the quid pro quo. That's how it works. And New Yorkers lose there. New Yorkers are harmed there because they don't necessarily get the right product at the right price. That's not what happened here. There was no quid pro quo. There was no this for that. The indictment alleges that then, 10 years ago, as Brooklyn Borough President, he got favors, and that at some point, then 10 years later, Turkish House. That's not a quid pro quo arrangement. There was no quid. There's no connection over this 10-year purported conspiracy of how those benefits have anything to do with 10 years later and the request at the Turkish House. There's no contemporaneous this for that. This is nothing more than basic courtesies that happen to members of Congress every day. There was no pro. Again, the timing and Mayor Adams' then role as Brooklyn Borough President, it makes this clear, right? It just doesn't make any sense. 10 years later, and all of a sudden, it's the Turkish House. It's not even in Brooklyn. When he's getting an upgrade 10 years earlier, they're upgrading him. It's not even in Brooklyn. He's the borough president with very little power in Brooklyn. There's no contemporary exchange, no this for that. And then there's the quo. And what they allege is, they can't allege that he actually did it, right? Because he's the Brooklyn Borough President. He didn't take any official acts. What they say is that, you see, and again they're reaching, even here, that he pressured, they just use this word, pressured, the FDNY to take any action. But of course, in the very message in question in this case, the key moment of the case, he makes it abundantly clear he's not pressuring them. He says, just let me know if it's possible and I'll manage expectations. It's the opposite of pressure. That's what you say when it's sort of just the same phone call that politicians make in every city in this country every day. Routine activities, setting up meetings, hosting events, calling an official, asking a question, gathering information. This is not sufficient for criminal federal liability. There's no contemporary exchange of this for that. And remember, we're now at the quo. This is the big moment, the official act that you need to bring a federal criminal bribery case. And remember, they told you, that, Eric Adams, in the airplane upgrade corruption case, he did things in secret. And you might be asking yourself, how did they get that text message between the Turkish gentleman and Mr. Adams? You might be wondering that. He gave it to them. He turned that over to them. So again, you just have to think about this logically. How could this new system announced for the first time in this indictment, for the first time, how could this possibly work? Every time anyone does anything for a politician, hosts a fundraiser, makes a donation, makes an introduction, gives them more legroom, every single time, they'd have to be walled off from that politician for the rest of time. Walled off. Any time a constituent calls, the politician would have to ask themselves, well, wait a second, does this person, did he ever appear before? Did she ever appear before? Did they ever do anything at all connected to me? They'd have to ask themselves that. That's not how the real world works. That's why this isn't a real case. Yet they bring it against the sitting mayor of New York City. And so we expect the bribery charges to be dismissed on the pending motion. The rest of this case is nothing but a campaign finance case, which isn't to make light of it, but these straw donor issues occur in almost every campaign. They're an issue in all campaigns. They allege in this case that on a few occasions of countless, there were straw donations, meaning that somebody donated through another. But Eric Adams obviously had no idea if that occurred, whether that occurred. And so the remaining allegations in this case rely on the testimony of one staffer. Just think about that. One staffer who has already lied, destroyed evidence, even according to the indictment, destroyed evidence. And you will learn that, as I said in court the other day, we'll find out when the prosecutors decide to tell everybody this, they know she's lying now. They've hidden that from you. The indictment further ignores and distorts exculpatory evidence. It ignores the witnesses that have told the government that Eric Adams told all of them, never accept foreign money. He did it in writing. He did it in person. And so there's no evidence that supports the alleged donor fraud either. That is the part of it where they claim, right? They wanted the word fraud in this case, so that's why they did that. But they say that some of these donations, right, because they automatically happen, they automatically get matched, that was the fraud. Of course, Eric Adams would have to know about this. He didn't know about this. And of course, the other thing that they leave out in all of this is logic. He had no incentive to do this. None. They were going to make more, they had more than they could ever use. They had more than they were allowed to have. There was no incentive. They kept records of everything. Again, no secret. And of course, if you look down on the left, they refunded millions of dollars. Right? It's not a case. The second part of the case, it's not a real case. And so what the prosecutors do is they try to use misdirection. They try to use misdirection. And so they write, the 2021 campaign reaped over $10 million. Wow, that sounds like a really big fraud. Based on the false certifications and the campaign complied with the law. Okay, that's not true either. If you look at what the indictment actually goes on to say, $18,000 worth of contributions they say were accidentally matched. $18,000, not $10 million fraud, $18,000. That was intentionally misleading. And so at the end of all of this, once the bribery count we expect to be dismissed, is this technical campaign finance violation against Mayor Adams that he did not know about. And again, this happens in campaigns. It's not to make light of it, but it happens. And so after that falls away, the matching donations issue falls away, and without crimes, so does the conspiracy. And that's where this will end. But I want to go back for a second to the beginning, to the night before the indictment. I want to show you what real evidence looks like. I want to show you what's really going on here. See, the prosecutors, having just typed up that indictment, and that's what indictments are. It's lawyers in a room with a computer just typing up what they want to accuse somebody of. That's all that is. It's a piece of paper. And so they're cobbling this together. You can picture them arguing about what to include regarding the upgrades, the leg room, whatever they want to say, a picture of the hotel. And they type it up, and they're just so excited that they had to leak it to the media. These lawyers are in this room, and they have lots of law books and very little real-world experience. And so they leak it to the media. And when they did that, they violated their ethical obligations. Violating grand jury secrecy is a criminal act. And it exposes them to what's really going on here. And when they did that, that misconduct, that's when the people of New York were let down. There are serious repercussions for leaking grand jury evidence, very serious repercussions. And I think you're going to see how that plays out in the coming days. And so, what do they do next? They send 12 federal agents to Gracie Mansion. Breaking news. My phone goes off. Breaking news. They're raiding Gracie Mansion. I speak to the agent. I said, what are you all doing at Gracie Mansion? He said, oh, we're just asking the mayor for his cell phone back again. Okay. I guess there was nothing else that those agents could work on in the city, no other crime to help with. They wanted that spectacle. They wanted all of this. And you should ask yourself why they're doing that. Why are they tipping off the media every single time they take somebody's cell phone in this case? Something that happens in every single investigation, something they'll probably keep doing. Breaking news like this is some watershed moment in a criminal investigation. It's amateur hour. The reason they're doing it is they want all of this. They want it to be in the tabloids every time. And I think eventually New Yorkers, being New Yorkers, are going to wise up to all of this. But again, they just can't help themselves. And it's worse than that, actually, because they're trying to manipulate and fool and taint all of you. But I have faith, as does the mayor, that New Yorkers will see through this, that New Yorkers are too savvy to be tricked by these games. And so, as they finish their day, they go to their little press conference, the airline corruption case press conference. And you know, federal judges, they call them out about this all the time, spinning for cameras, trying to taint juries all the time. And when you look back at their comments now, just a few days later, you can see what I said then. This isn't a real case. Never was. To go after the sitting mayor of New York City, a city that needs him. That's why I'm standing here. I've never held a press conference in my career. Never responded to these little press conferences. But this is different. They have forgotten to tell the people of New York the truth about what is going on here. That's what I'm here to do. But there is a part of their little presser that I wanted to borrow. You know, if you watch the end of it, it's sort of, you know, you can tell they spent a lot of time writing that ending, and they're rehearsing it. You can tell. And I wanted to borrow it, if that's okay, and quote from it, you see, because the bringing of this not real case, the hiding that their key witness lied, the leaking of secret grand jury evidence to the press is a grave breach of the public's trust. Public office is a privilege. We allege that prosecutors abused that privilege. These are laws that are designed to ensure that officials like them serve the people, not the press, not their careers, not their political careers. These are bright-line rules, and we allege that the prosecutors violated them again and again for months. That's the reason we're here today. And if anybody has any information about that, they can come forward anytime. So I don't have anything further today. I cannot discuss, obviously, certain facts of this case for obvious reasons. You will see additional updates this week. The case will be in the court's hands. There's a motion to dismiss pending. There will be further filings made this week. And we expect the case to be dismissed, the bribery charges to be dismissed, and further sanctions to come to the government. And so while that's pending, I don't think there will be major case updates, so I wanted to address you all today. I've always believed that the city would then return, the mayor will lead the city, and the city always goes back. And I believe that the truth will eventually come out in that courtroom. That's our system, and that's good enough. So I have time for a few questions, if anybody has questions. Sure.
Hi, Emma from the New York Times. Can you speak a little bit more about why he didn't report the travel benefits and why he thought... Everyone. Oh. Okay. Can you speak a little bit more about why he didn't report the travel benefits to the Conflict of Interest Board and why he thought it was appropriate to accept those gifts?
Yeah, well, you're not required to disclose them to the Conflict of Interest Board or to any public disclosures. So there's a legal opinion on that issue, whether upgrades and these sorts of courtesies and gratuities have to be, and the legal opinion is they don't. Yes?
If you disclose the training trips at all, which fine if that is required.
No, it isn't. Personal travel is not required to be disclosed, and the other thing that's not required to be disclosed is upgrades and things of that nature. I will also say that as we descend, there are cases that are like this case where politicians have been fined $10,000. There's just never been a case where federal charges were brought on such charges.
Disclosed
Yes.
some of his trips to the Conflict of Interest Board. Why did he seek that opinion It's not required.
I'm not going to have time to do 2 or 3 questions for each person, and I'll ask you, yes.
Today, you say that the case was based on facts that were provided by an ex-staffer with an axe to grind. I wondered if you could go a little bit further and explain what you mean by that.
Well, I think I've said a few times that the case, and I think the government has even alleged in court, and you can read the indictment and piece it together, that this entire case relies on one witness. That's it.
What's her axe to grind?
Well, you're going to find out. Yes.
Why are you, so you went into the bribery and why it's not bribery, and you're moving to dismiss that charge. And then you went over the donations and why it's not $10 million like the prosecution outlined. Why are you not moving to dismiss that charge? And what evidence do you have of the leaks from the prosecutor's office other than the articles in print that you reference? Do you have evidence of those leaks happening?
Yes, we do, and you'll find out in the coming days. The second thing I'll tell you to answer your original question is certain claims and allegations in an indictment can be dismissed quickly just based on the papers. Certain things require more evidentiary support and investigation. And so I don't want anybody thinking that I think that part of this case ought to or will survive. But we didn't move to dismiss it, week 1. Yes?
Yes. Hi. Good morning. You said the cooperating witness lied. About what?
You're going to find out, or maybe the government will tell you.
Well, you're elaborating based on your allegations and what's in the indictment. So why isn't she trustworthy, and what did she lie about?
Well, forget trustworthy. That's a bigger, more complicated question in life. Their own indictment says that she lied. Right? The indictment the passage that I showed on the board says that she lied to the agents. Then says she destroyed her phone. There's another, even bigger lie that they haven't told you about. I'm wanting them to tell you because I'm watching the Brady clock, and I kind of want them to tell you. And then there's more lies that I think as this case unfolds, you'll say.
What
Yes.
do you think it is? What do you think the lie is?
Oh, maybe I know. Next question.
It seems you're not going to really tell us any of these falsehoods that you claim that Ron Abasova had told, but I just want to offer you the opportunity again. Can you shed some light on what these alleged lies are? On 2 other separate matters, or is Brendan?
I can't do 3 questions for everybody, or we're not going to.
Okay. Let me
answer that question though.
Go ahead.
I think I've answered it, but I'll answer it a little bit maybe cleaner. The indictment, the government says she lied. It's not just me saying she lied. The indictment says that she lied when she first spoke to agents. Okay, I am telling all of you, and the government knows this, that she then lies again. Okay, about something very important, or I wouldn't keep talking about it. Okay. Third, you're asking me, well, what is the lie? The lie, the main lie, is that Eric Adams knew about anything having to do with this. That's the main lie. But there's lots of lies.
Could I just quickly ask something for clarity? Brendan McGuire, Boy Johnson, are they still representing the mayor?
Yeah, I'm not going to take multiple questions because then everybody's going to have multiple questions. Yes.
Okay, it's against city conflicts of interest law to accept, as an elected official, to accept a gift above $50. I mean, that's just written in city law. Can you explain how it's not illegal that the mayor accepted many, many gifts above $50? In addition, the indictment specifically says on many pages, I'll say page 15, for instance, the mayor signed off on the scheme to accept foreign donations. Can you respond to that? And are you giving the mayor a discounted rate? Because we know you're a very high-priced, fancy lawyer. I think you make $2,000 an hour or something, which is great for you. We all don't make that much, but whatever. Is he getting a discount, or is the city in any way, shape, or form paying for your salary?
Let me try to answer those questions. The first is, I'm not an expert in conflict of interest board law. Okay, we have experts that weigh in on these things, and so does he. It is certainly not a violation of criminal law or federal criminal law. It's not even close. The Supreme Court last year clarified this forever and ever and a day. Second of all, I think we've said this already. The city is not paying for his legal bills. Yes.
This question was asked earlier, but how does your work relate to the work that was being done by Wilmer Hale? Are you working with them, or have you replaced them in some form? And also, when did you come on board for the mayor in this capacity? I know you were already representing him in the other case.
Yeah, I will be trial counsel on this matter. Wilmer Hale is still involved. Yes.
So you keep citing the Supreme Court ruling of Snyder. Are you concerned that that has to do with domestic issues? Are you concerned that this has to do with actual foreign countries interfering in our local elections here?
Well, even that question relies on, and I'm actually going to go back to a question that was asked before, which is, what do I make of the indictment saying scheme? That's just a word that some prosecutor in an office wrote into an indictment. There is no scheme. There is no foreign interference with elections. This is just a mayor who went to the outer boroughs and met with people in this city that more people should meet with, and had donations from lots of different members of the community across lots of different ethnic groups. And so there is no scheme, there is no foreign interference. This is all nonsense that is spun into this to try to turn a conflict of interest question or a disclosure question into a federal criminal case. Last question.
We were speaking with the Brooklyn Borough President, Antonio Reynoso, this morning, who immediately assumed the position from Mayor Adams during that same election cycle. He said immediately upon taking office, he was offered multiple very fancy porcelain tea sets and lavish travel to Turkey, and he immediately said, this doesn't pass the smell test, turn it away. How do you expect to sell to a jury that the mayor didn't have some sense that this was wrong?
I'm glad that he didn't take the porcelain set. If he had, it wouldn't have been a federal crime, and I'm not needing to sell anything because there wasn't a violation of federal law here. I have nothing further today. I can't sit here and answer more questions.
Specific about
and
Brendan
so
Blair.
I appreciate everybody's time, and I will speak again at court on Wednesday. Thank you.
Can you,
Switch your answer on the conflict of interest thing. Do you think that he should have disclosed it?
Did you shoot that wide while I was asking or something? Okay. It was a little scoop we had. We had him on our morning show, and he told the whole story. Yeah. Did he give you the tea set? I did not get the tea set. I am a resident of Brooklyn, but you know.
when is the tea party? Let us know.
He really innocently thought that it was just like, these guys just can't possibly know the rules because this stinks. And he had no idea that it was like, you know, a bigger sort of thing. I think we clipped it on all our socials and stuff, yeah. Okay, well, let's get out of here. So they didn't roll it? We were gonna stream it, like we were gonna take it live. Right? Yeah. Oh, I know you were. Yeah, it was 25 minutes. Yeah.